This video is how I pulled together this dresser top watch and knife vault. It is made of spalted maple and cherry, all basically a 1/4 inch thick. I first started with some 4/4 cherry that I'd milled down to 3/4 inch thickness. I'm resawing this essentially down the middle to approximately 3/8 of an inch thick. I then take these pieces over to the planer and clean up the saw marks and get all of them down to a 1/4 inch thickness. Now that I have the cherry milled down to 1/4 inch thickness, I need to glue up a top, a bottom, and then there is a middle section as well. Here I am putting a good clean edge on for glue. The glue up was pretty straightforward. Here I'm using Titebond 3 for the glue. Because of the 1/4 inch thickness of the material, I did use quite a few cauls to make sure everything stayed the way I wanted it. While I wait for the glue to dry on the panels, I can go about building the basic box for the vault. I'm using 1/4 inch spalted maple here, and I got these panels just like I did for the cherry, tops, bottom, and that center piece. So now I have the 4 sides of the basic box. Now that I have the 4 sides of the box, before I can think about assembling this, I need to cut datos in the sides to slide in the inserts. As we know, cutting datos is a trial and error method to get the right width. Here I am messing around with shims doing exactly that. But before I can cut the datos, I need to cut the drawer front off of the front panel of the box. After getting satisfied with the right width for the dado, I can now start cutting them. I start out with the dados at the top and the bottom of the box. The dados for the sectional inserts can start at the bottom of the box because those won't be seen, but they must end before they penetrate through the top so that they will be unseen. Here are all the sides with the dados, and here it is assembled, ready for glue up. To be honest, the actual glue up was a lot easier than I thought, and it looks in these pictures. With the glue dried on the miter joints of the box, I can now take it over to the table saw and cut some grooves to install splines on the corners. And then it's a matter of gluing in the splines themselves. In this case, I'm using walnut material for the splines. While I wait for the glue to dry on the splines, I was able to capture the dimensions for the drawer, so I'll start pulling that together. To build the drawer, I'll start by ripping the sides, and then I will do a mitered box just like I did for the main box. Before I do the mitering to build the drawer box, I'll put a rabbet on the bottom to accept the drawer bottom. After cutting the rabbets for the drawer bottom, I can now start cutting the miters for the drawer itself. After getting the miters cut and the box sized, I can now go back and put dados in for the drawer inserts. And yes, I put the dado set back in the saw. I just marked the location of the dados for the sides, and I'm just eyeballing these. With the drawer sides all cut and sanded, I can now assemble the drawer box. Since the drawer bottom will drop into the rabbet, I do not need to install that at this time. As a matter of fact, I will wait and get the final dimensions once the drawer has dried. As always, I take a final check of squareness. While the glue on the drawer box is drying, I can now address the splines on the main box. I use a trim saw to cut off the excess of the splines, and then we'll sand these smooth during finishing. With the box basically done, it's now time to cut the top off of the box. I'm doing this at the bandsaw because the bandsaw blade is narrower than the table saw blade. I know I'm jumping around here, but this is the process I used to build this. Here I am cutting the drawer bottom out of a 1/8" piece of plywood. I glued the plywood bottom on all 4 sides for the drawer. This will give me good structural integrity. I will not put splines on the drawer. After some sanding, it's now time to attach the drawer front to the drawer. I purposely made the drawer slightly shorter than the hole in which it resides. That way, by putting in some small temporary blocks in behind the drawer, it will come up flush and I will be able to clamp the drawer front. I will, of course, remove the temporary blocks from behind the drawer. I have one final task to do before I can finish this knife and watch vault, and that's to put a drawer pull on the drawer. On my projects, I usually try to come up with my own shop-made drawer pulls. It's time to finish the project. This piece here is the center slat that goes in between the top and the drawer. I generally use BioShield's Hard Oil number 9, which is really a oil for floors in high humidity areas. Now we're back to the beginning of the video. Here is the watch and knife vault all completed. That ends this video, folks. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, happy woodworking.